It's time to awaken. There's a story in the Pali Canon where the Buddha told a man, if by the third time you refuse to answer the Tathagata, your head will split into 7 pieces. To a casual ear, that sounds like a threat, as if the Buddha was angry or unkind. But it wasn't a curse, nor a punishment. It was a statement of truth, a description of the karmic law in motion, not a warning born of ego. His words were neither harsh nor emotional. They were purely diagnostic, like a doctor describing the consequence of neglect. That moment reveals something profound about right speech. It isn't about softness or politeness, but about the truth that liberates rather than wounds. The Buddha's words carried no hatred, only clarity, a mirror reflecting cause and effect. That's where right speech truly begins, in the space where truth meets compassion, where speech stops being a weapon and becomes medicine. Welcome back to the Noble Eightfold Path series, the Buddha's timeless map for walking through life with wisdom, clarity, and balance. In this episode, we explore right speech, the art of truthful kindness. You know how it goes when old friends get together. The tea's warm, the light's soft, and someone says, "Remember that time I said something stupid and wished I could take it back?" Everyone laughs, but behind the laughter, there's a shared sigh. We all know the taste of words we wish we hadn't spoken, and the quiet ache of the ones we should have said but never did. That's where right speech lives, in the space between honesty and kindness, truth and timing. It's one of those teachings that sounds simple until you try to live it in the middle of a marriage, a workplace, or a heated group chat. In the West, people often hear right speech and think it means don't lie. In the East, it runs deeper. It's not just about accuracy, but about intention. The Buddha wasn't drawing a moral line between truth and falsehood. He was pointing toward wisdom in expression, the kind of speech that heals rather than harms. And that subtle difference is what confuses many Western ears. To the modern mind, truth is sacred. It must be spoken plainly. But in the Dhamma, truth without compassion isn't complete. It's like salt without water, technically pure, but unbearable to swallow. There's a story in the Sutta Nipata where a young monk asks the Buddha, "Should I always speak the truth?" And the Buddha replies, "Not if the truth brings harm. Speak what is true and also what is kind, what is beneficial and what is timely. Otherwise, keep noble silence." It's not a license to be vague. It's an invitation to be wise. Because sometimes what people need is not a fact, but a path, a word that helps them find their own clarity. When I first read that, I thought, so truth depends on context? It sounded slippery, like the moral equivalent of it's complicated. But then I remembered how many times brutal honesty had done more damage than good. There's a difference between being truthful and being right. One feeds the ego, the other feeds understanding. Think about how we talk online now. In the Buddha's time, a sharp word might reach 10 people. Today, one careless post can circle the planet. Right speech isn't just about what leaves our lips anymore, it's what leaves our fingertips. We type fast, react faster, and forget there's a real heart on the other side of the screen. The Buddha warned, harsh words pierce the heart, gentle speech is sweet as honey. If he lived today, he might have said, think before you tweet. When the Buddha described right speech, he gave 4 simple guidelines. Speak what is true, speak what is kind, speak what is beneficial, speak at the right time. They sound almost childlike, but they're revolutionary. Imagine if newsrooms, parliaments, or even dinner tables followed them. What a quiet world we'd live in. Let's take them one by one. Truthful doesn't mean blurting out everything you think. It means that what you say aligns with reality and integrity. The Buddha never asked us to lie for comfort, but he did ask us to look at why we're speaking. Are we sharing truth to help or to prove we're right? Kind means the words carry goodwill. They aim to lessen suffering, not add to it. Think of how a doctor tells the truth, with precision, but also with care. Beneficial means it serves a purpose. It brings clarity, insight, or peace. Gossip may be true, but it's rarely beneficial. And timely, the hardest of all, means reading the moment. Sometimes silence has more power than speech. The Buddha called it noble silence. Not avoidance, but discernment, the wisdom to wait until the heart is ready to hear. I once met a retired teacher named Paul at a meditation retreat. Over lunch, he said, You know what I regret most after 40 years in classrooms? Not the lessons I taught wrong, the words I said right but at the wrong time. He told me about a student who had cheated on a test. Paul caught him, confronted him in front of everyone, and humiliated him. The boy dropped out that year. I was right, Paul said, but I wasn't kind. That's the razor's edge the Buddha was talking about. Truth and kindness held in equal measure. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha compared harsh speech to throwing dust against the wind. It only blows back into your own eyes. We've all felt that. The moment after we snap at someone, the silence that follows heavier than the words themselves. But gentle words, he said, are like cool rain, falling evenly on all beings. They refresh the listener and the speaker. That's not poetic fluff, it's neurobiology before its time. Modern science says that when we speak calmly and kindly, our own nervous system settles. Right speech isn't just good karma, it's good chemistry. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about when the truth needs to be said, when someone's being unjust or dangerous or cruel? Right speech doesn't mean we stay silent in the face of harm. The Buddha himself confronted kings, priests, and quarrelsome monks, but notice how he did it, never with contempt. He called it speech like a friend. To speak truth from compassion is different from speaking it from anger. The first opens the door, the second slams it, and when a door is closed, no truth gets in. The Nikayas are full of moments where the Buddha simply asks questions instead of making statements. What do you think, monks? Is anger ever conquered by anger? He wasn't being rhetorical. He was guiding them to see for themselves. That's the deeper art of communication. Not convincing, but awakening. And this applies to family life too. I think of an old friend, Margaret, who once said, "My husband and I used to fight to see who was right. Now we just fight to see who can stay kind longer." She laughed, but she meant it. After 30 years together, she learned that being right rarely brings peace. Being kind often does. For those of us past 50, right speech becomes less about social virtue and more about spiritual hygiene. We realize words leave residue. You can feel it, that heaviness after gossip, that quiet satisfaction after saying something that truly helped. Every word is like food for the mind. Some nourish, some poison. And when you've lived long enough, you start craving cleaner speech, fewer empty calories of chatter, more simple nourishment of truth and care. So how do we practice this without sounding like monks in robes? Start small. Before speaking, pause for a heartbeat and ask 3 questions. The same ones teachers in monasteries still use today. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? If the answer to any is no, maybe silence is the better gift. In that pause, awareness slips in. The same awareness we train on the cushion. Over time, the gap between impulse and speech widens, and inside that gap lives freedom. And yes, we'll mess up, we'll say the wrong thing, we'll send the text too soon. But as the Buddha said in the Dhammapada, even as a storm throws down a weak tree, so does wrong speech destroy one who is heedless. The opposite is also true. Right speech strengthens the roots of peace. Each time we choose patience over impulse, gentleness over pride, we plant a seed of freedom in the field of our mind. There's a beautiful line in the Itivuttaka. Sweet indeed is well-spoken speech, words that bring no harm, that are true, that touch the heart. That's the standard, not cleverness, not eloquence, but sweetness that arises from sincerity. Imagine if our world, this noisy, divided, opinion-heavy world, paused for even one breath before speaking. The noise would soften. Maybe we'd actually hear each other again. So, maybe tonight, when you're done listening to this, try a small reflection. Think of the last conversation that didn't sit right with you. What was missing? Truth, kindness, benefit, or timing? Don't judge it, just notice. And then tomorrow, when you speak to someone you love or someone who challenges you, see if you can add back the missing piece. That's how practice becomes life. Not on the cushion, not in theory, but in the next sentence that leaves your lips. Because right speech isn't about being perfect. It's about remembering that words are sacred, carriers of karma, little boats on the river of human connection. Some sink, some save. When we speak from truth and kindness together, our words become bridges, and if we're lucky, we get to walk across them with those we love, again and again. So here's to the art of truthful kindness, to the courage to say what matters, the wisdom to know when to stay silent, and the grace to begin again when we forget. May our words be gentle, our hearts steady, and our silences full of understanding.